What's up guys, it's Ryan, and today we're going to be going over this Crywolf style track that I just uploaded about an hour ago. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, definitely go to the last video and listen to the song. It's just a playthrough, nothing else. Real fast, I am in Cubase, yes. I will still be doing Ableton stuff, yes. And I'll explain why I've kind of been switching around more in depth later. I just don't want to waste this video talking about it. So if we get right into it, the song just starts with two guitar parts and it's super simple. And just so we know, the hardware I was using was my Shure Jazzmaster, a Walrus Audio Deep 6 compressor, and a Strymon Big Sky reverb, and a Kemper profile. I'm pretty sure it was the PRS JMod profile from Tone Junkies, if I'm not mistaken. But it sounds something like this. So that's literally just the root note and the third with a little bit of reverb on it. You know, that's it. It's a super simple sound, but I really enjoy it. And then we also have this right here. And it's just that part, like plucking the chords, but with this shaper box on it. Kind of glitching it out, and it also has some reverb on it just to give it some stereo. So we've got those two that started, and then comes in this pad and also an impact. This is super easy, that'll just go over and it kind of plays through the song. An impact. Oh. From Black Octopus Leviathan. And if we look right here, it's got nothing on it, so it's just very bare bones, straight in. Then we have this pad right here. And if you want to see the MIDI, here it is, just so you can like see the chord. It's the same thing twice, so you're not really missing anything. Right here, here's the MIDI. B minor 7 to an A major, add the 4 to just a plain G major triad. That's all it really is. So it's super simple, but sounds pretty cool. And if we want to look at what the instrument is, it's actually an instance of output exhale. This was just some random preset I kind of made by myself, which is dangerous. Just distorted reverb, has some like of this talk effect. I don't even really remember. I was just hitting buttons until something came out, but it's incredibly basic. And I'm pretty sure they have 7 presets that sound exactly like this, but I decided to do it on my own. If we look at the effects, we have some Valhalla vintage verb, 100% wet. I should really turn this pre-delay down. Pro tip: if you're having a pad play behind chords and you also want an 100% reverb, don't have any pre-delay, or else you're gonna have a delay before it actually gets heard. My bad on that. And then we have this Pro Q3, which is just kind of like taking out some of the low end, and a little notch right here for whatever reason. Just kind of thins it out a little bit, which is important when the bass comes in and when like the drums and everything like that come in. So we've got that, and then we keep going, and it's incredibly basic. Then it gets to this point right here, the stutter effect for the guitar turns off, and some other things come in. maybe if I soloed it. So it just continues to play that same chord pattern on the pad, and then we have this piano come in, and how this one is being played is the melody is being played in octaves. You can't really hear the bottom one, but I'm playing it like a plucked part. So the bottom note is being played slightly before the top note, and it gives it an interesting kind of sound. Like, I'll go up another octave just to exaggerate it. But that's just how that particular part is being played. It's just the Maverick. I'm pretty sure I haven't touched a single button or knob in this preset. It's just pretty stock. Then, on the channel we have this pretty crazy compressor. That hits pretty hard when the velocity is higher. So this is like super low velocity, and even then the compressor is still getting to work. But if you hit it really hard, then it squashes it. So after that compressor, we have an echo boy, which is just giving it a little bit of delay, and then after that we have 100% reverb, again with the pre-delay. I was slacking on that part, that's for sure. The impact plays again, and then we get into the fun part. So this entire thing is still BAG, and actually, important note, in the guitar part, it isn't BAG necessarily. So it's B minor, and that's an A over C sharp. So it's like I'm playing a C sharp and an E, but the implied root note is an A, if that makes any sense. And then it goes to the B again. So it goes B, C sharp over B minor, C sharp over E to the G, and then it goes B minor, A, just regular, to the G, just to clear that up, but the MIDI doesn't play that. So we have this part. Oh, and then we get to the fun part, which is what I'm sure everybody actually cares about. So I've still got those regular guitars going up here. I have this second guitar up here, which is just very high and kind of floaty over everything. All I've got, Valhalla Room. That's it. There is some drive and some reverb coming off of my pedal board. If I had to guess, it was the Walrus Warhorn into the Big Sky, and there's probably some delay from the Strymon timeline, if I had to guess. I think I hear it in there. It's kind of hard when everything gets so washed out, you know? But, yeah. So we have that playing. Again, just reverb on that. We have the piano still going with that same melody, which again, F sharp, A, just kind of bouncing back and forth, super easy. And then we have this pad right here that comes in. Which kind of sounds like it's a little bit out of the 80s, and that was a little bit what I was going for. It was also just to take up some space. So it's just a Serum patch with some saw waves and a filter. And that's literally about it. We have this LFO that's also kind of swishing the detune value around. The LFO is note tracking and has a little bit of resonance. So if we take the filter away, and hopefully it'll play. Yeah. It's just a very standard super saw, but as soon as you have the filter on, it becomes way more like subdued and in the background. And if we take the note tracking, or the filter key track, that's what it's called, my bad, then everything's just cut off. So the filter key track is super important. It kind of filters in proportion to the note that's being played and not to the overall signal. So every time I'm doing any sort of pads, I always hit filter key track, unless it's very deliberate that I want like only the low rumbly stuff, or like the mid-range or whatever. No effects from Serum on that, but if we look at this, we've got just a stock compressor for whatever reason. We take that off. Sounds basically exactly the same. So I don't really know what that's doing, but I'm not going to really complain. Excuse my clumsiness in Cubase, still getting a little used to it. And then we have some Valhalla Room, which is just making it go from this to this. Reverb is a big thing in this track, in this particular genre in general, really. Also, I'm just gonna check that I'm actually recording. Cool. Alright. Sorry, I would hate to get 11 minutes in and realize I wasn't ever recording anything. So we have that Serum pad, which is playing exactly the same thing as the Exhale pad. Super easy. And then we have these, or the bass first, really. And I really enjoy this sort of sound. You can hear it in like a lot of hip hop. It's got some tweaks to it on this, but a lot of like Post Malone style stuff, you can hear it. It's 2 saw waves with a filter and filter key track, but this one has this resonant peak right here. So if we just took it away, it's just this mean big saw wave, and it sounds fantastic. I really enjoy it. But with the filter, it kind of gets out of the way of everything else, and this resonant peak kind of gives it some character. And I'm gonna, this is the undo. Oh well. Yeah. Whoops. And then we have this LFO that's swirling the detune around on this particular oscillator. Super easy. It's got some distortion also. That has this filter as a post filter. So it's just a saw wave bass with a filter, really, which is ridiculously easy. Then for effects, we've got, I ended up not using that, but we do have a sausage fattener, which makes it go from this which is super quiet, so not really a fair comparison, but it just beefs it up a ton. So there's that, and then we have this fab filter taking out any remaining high end. So just like that, really. Then we get into the leads, and we have 3 lead layers right here. We have this lead synth right here, and all of the accompanying reverb. So if we look at what this is, 2 saw waves, but it's got 16 voices and then 1 voice. And then this saw wave is 2 octaves up. Those are the important things, I think. This saw wave is being swirled around. I'll let that die real fast. With the asymmetrical kind of warp mode. And then this one has bend plus minus warp mode. It's got a comb filter, which is super important. It's what gives it the kind of screechy sound. I'll turn off the reverb so we can like effectively figure this out. But without the comb filter, it just gives it a sort of grit, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, so we have that. We have this distortion, pretty hard. Delay into the compressor so you can really hear it. If it was the other way around, it dies off super quick, but if you have the delay before the compressor, it seems to go on for forever and ever. And then a little bit of reverb. Just a little bit to give some space. Over here, have another one of these API 2500. Just doing a little bit more compression. Bring it all together or something like that. The tube, which is, oh, now I remember. It's one of Cubase's stock distortion things. So without. So just a little more drive, because you can always use more drive. We have Valhalla Vintage Verb. And again with these pre-delays, oh my god. Pretty standard, just a lot of reverb. Super easy. Valhalla Shimmer, which gives it that like alien sparkle up top. And the octaves and everything all up there. Then we have this Fab Filter Pro Q. I haven't talked today really, so doing this is a lot for me right now. Takes away all of the muddy low end that reverb tends to introduce with a brick wall. Thank you, Fab Filter, for putting in the brick wall in Pro Q3. I use it all the time. And then it's got a boost for the high ends just to give it a little more presence. And then this cut right here, because when I boost something, I typically cut a little bit what's around it, and vice versa. Typically, I would do something like this, but I just didn't today for whatever reason. That's what we've got there. Then that gets layered with this sound. Also, I'm using the mod wheel, pitch wheel, my bad, pitch bend wheel. So and that's what these like drawings right here are, is me controlling the sliding around a little bit. So that's how I'm doing that. I'm just automating the pitch wheel. If we look at this, 2 saw waves, one saw wave is being FM'd from the other saw wave. 12 voices, 1 voice. Very easy. I have a sub wave as well for some reason, or sub oscillator as well for some reason. Effects, distortion with this massive peak right here in the pre-filter. That's something I really enjoy doing. If I go in here and turn off all the reverb and delays, and right here. So if this was post, you just have that obnoxious resonance. But pre-distortion, this peak gets turned into, like, to me, pretty cool artifacts. So if I don't want to mess with it because I don't know where the undo button is. Yeah, for Serum. Fair. So if it's off, just like that, but if it's pre, you get that peak in the in the sound, which is super cool. So we have that sound, which is just being layered with the other one. It also has, yeah, this echo boy. Did I have delay on this? Man, that is something Ableton has better. I'll say it right now. Oh, well. Or actually, no, I'll know exactly, because this is just a copy of the other one. I did have delay. I was going extreme. And reverb, yeah. So it's just that sound layered on top of the other one with more delay and then more reverb. And that's about it, which is a super easy sound. This is the same thing but an octave up. So all of them together sound like this. And I had to layer them up because after making the first one, I was like, okay, but it's barely there. So I had to beef it up a little bit by making all these layers. Next we've got this thing, which is my favorite thing in the track, to be honest. It just gets layered every time the snare hits. And I'm a big fan of it. So if we look at what this is, I drew this in. Super weird bananas wavetable, both of them, I'm pretty sure. My phone's ringing, 1 second. I'll get that in a second. This one, A is being FM'd by B. It's got this kind of plucky envelope and a filter being super distorted with that same peak thing and multiband compressed. If we go over to the effects, sausage fattener, let's take it step by step. So it's just like a dirty bell without or with it. That's what it sounds like, and then you just kind of crush it a little. Sounds like that. Add some delay. Maybe that sort of thing. Some reverb. Very slight. This particular reverb was very slight. And I got the pre-delay on this one. Or I never turned it on. Oh my god. It's just been one of those days. Shimmer. An EQ, because this makes sense somehow, and then a compressor just to kind of squash it a little bit. That's it. And then we get into, or for this particular big part, then we get into the drums. It starts off, this is a new thing that I just added. It's just the stomp kick, but reversed. That's literally it. On the stomp, I got this from, there's a website out there called thatsound.com, I'm pretty sure it is. They've got a stomps and claps sample pack, and that's where I got basically all of these drum sounds from. So this is just a giant stomp, like in the middle of a big room. And it sounds awesome. So like that. So I didn't really do much to these. Like this kick stomp thing has 0 effects. It is getting sent to the reverb a little bit. I do have a reverb channel. I'll go over that super fast. Pull up the mixer. We have a reverb channel. FabFilter Pro R, super standard. Just gives it a little bit of extra space. So have that. We have this layered chain wet. That's what that sounds like. And as you can see, I have it a little bit before the snare, or the claps rather, because it sounds really good like that. Again, no processing on it at all. A little bit of reverb channel. If we go back and then we have this giant clap. And as you can tell by the name, it's just people clapping in a parking garage, but it sounds huge. Have a little bit of reverb and no post-processing. I should probably check that I don't have anything on... Yeah, I don't even have anything on the drums channel. I'm sure that'll change. Give it a little compression, maybe a little drive, but for right now it's basically finished. Then we have this stick loop. This has an EQ, just kind of chills it out a little bit. Have a little bit of tape saturation with the channel strip right here, which is an interesting Cubase tool. I gave it a phaser for some reason, but the mix is 9%, so like I may as well not have it. And then a little bit of reverb, or a lot of reverb, same thing. This clap loop, no processing, a little bit of reverb. Those together, something like that. We got the impact again. All of them together sound something like this. Which just sounds giant. That's a little weird. So I'll go like that for right now. I'll fix that later. I fixed it. So these giant, like, organic acoustic sort of sounds sound fantastic. I also have this right here just as a little accent. This hey, just to give a little bit vocal tonality in there. Just have a little bit of, or a lot of reverb on it. Get rid of the pre-delay. Come on, Ryan. Actually, just give it a little bit because it's not 100%. So just a little bit of reverb on that. It kind of gets buried in the mix, but you can still tell it's there a little bit. So there's that. That's it for this part. Then we get over here. We have the same piano. I have this stomp verb, which is the stomp, but super kind of washed out. That has a ton of reverb on it. And this EQ just gets rid of all the low end with the impact. This is where the hey is way more noticeable. You can, if I mute it, you can really tell. Yeah. So first we have these guitars that I played. Oh, I quantized them because I cheated, which is confusing. That I'll get it later. Never mind. I'll fix it later. It just has. I had delay on it. It sounded like just kind of got messy. Then it has some more reverb. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing right here. Have some extra delay right here, but you can. There's two delays on this guitar. There's one that's coming off of my pedal board, which is what you can hear. That reversing sound. I added another one. Just to make it crazy. Added a reverb. Just over 50%, so it sounds like it's in a room. And then I kind of knocked out all of the high end, or the low end. I'm going to put a little bit more back in there. That's it. And this is just following the piano melody right here. Yep. Then we have this lounge lizard, this Rhodes. Which is super simple. It's got a sausage fattener for some reason, and then reverb. Everything has reverb on this track. That's just kind of part of the style, I guess. And with everything that's so washed out, like up here and then the rest of the track, I thought it'd be super cool to add in these kinds of drums right here. Just like super tight and dry. This kick, I'm pretty sure nothing is on it. Yeah, nothing's on it. The snare has a little bit more. This frequency, which I was just kind of messing around with, really. This is a super cool thing about Cubase. This is one of the default, you can tell Steinberg down here, default EQs that come with it. And it looks a lot like FabFilter Pro Q. But you can tell what note your band is at. It's like this 4 right here is an A3, which is just bananas. I would have never thought to like ask for that in an EQ, but here it is, and it's super cool. So I was just kind of messing around with that just to see. So I have this EQ, which is a little overkill, yes, but it's what I have right now. Also have this decapitator, which is a bit of overdrive. If we solo the snare, and if we take it off, it's actually louder without it, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of drive. Then a little bit of reverb. This time I actually mean a little bit. It's not much at all. Had to get it to fit in the track though, you know. So that just kind of goes. Don't know what this is. I don't know why that's there. Yeah, getting rid of that. At the end right here, I chop up the notes. Super self-explanatory. It goes back to the intro progression. Oh, I see. It's because I was trying to drag this over here. It's the reverse stomp thing. line it up like that. No. Cool. It's just the intro again, really. That's all it is. I copy pasted it. And then it's this again, but there's a new thing in it. Oh, there's two new things. My bad, too. So I have Superior Drummer right here. Man, I need to stop hitting the wrong buttons. Let me tell you what. It's this Yamaha from George Massenburg preset. But I am just using the toms and the snare. So if we listen to it soloed, like this. It's that over and over and over again. I also have a sausage fattener, so without it. So I destroyed the sound with the sausage fattener. And then I have this Pro Q. I doubt it's even really doing anything. It's like so subtle, you can't even really hear it, especially when the rest of the mix starts going. So I added that, and also this washed out ride cymbal, which is just a ride cymbal with a bunch of reverb and some EQ. That's it. So altogether, I need to make this transition a little bit more graceful, but that's a day for, or that's a task for another day. That's a day for another task. That's what I was about to say. And I wrote that tom part mainly to bounce off of this stick loop right here. So they line up on a few things, but not really anything else. Or they have enough in common where it's like cohesive, but they do play off of each other very nicely. Like that, which I loved. And that is everything in the track so far. On solo these. If we go to the what's the word I'm looking for? The groups or the buses. The guitar bus, and I'm gonna loop this part just for an example. So I have all of the guitars going into this group. It's got a decapitator, which is just giving it the smallest amount of drive. Like it's barely there. Got this fab filter right here. I wanted a little bit of bite up in the 4K range right here, so I gave it some. I cut a little bit right here just to balance it out, like I was saying earlier. And then I have this low pass to get rid of all the muddy low end. Again, that comes with all the reverb that I'm using. So that's all. And this virtual mix rack. My bad. Compression without it. With it. A little bit of compression. This air module boost high end. So it's just giving it a little bit more high end. Really. Or I guess it's more 1K for some reason. Or not for some reason, because that's what it's set to. So you can hear it up at 30K. It's boosting all the higher frequencies. I just twisted the knob, not even realizing it, and I thought it sounded good, so I guess that's staying there. It's being sent to the reverb channel a little bit as well, just to give it some more space and everything like that. I have the keys group. With a 0 post-processing. Got the drums with a 0 post-processing. I'm sure I'll add a little bit of compression or a little bit of EQ later, but it's not going to be anything crazy. Then on the master, or the stereo out, as Cubase calls it, and how every other DAW other than Ableton calls it, I had a limiter for when I was working, like if I hit something super loud, it wouldn't blow my ears out. So this is the most passive limiter ever. It hardly ever gets up even close. So this is the loudest part of the song. And it's living at right around like the -8 to -15 range, you know, something like that. So it's not really doing much. It was literally just in case I hit something really loud on accident. I've got a brick wall limiter at 20 hertz, or I guess almost 21 hertz, just to get rid of all of the bass information that literally nobody can hear anyways, and most speakers can't even reproduce. So why work with that if literally nobody's going to hear it? Then I have Ozone 8, which if it loads, here we go. Have this equalizer. So on the side, this is something I always do. I take the side signal, which is just your stereo signal, and I get rid of all of the low end. So if we solo it, and if I turn off the EQ for it, there's a little bit more low end. You can see it rumbling around down there. So I got rid of all of that. I did nothing in the mids. On the sides I did boost the highs a little bit just to give it some more oomph, I guess. So if we just take out the equalizer entirely. So it just gives it a little bit of extra top end and gets rid of the low end for the sides, essentially making the low end mono is what it's really doing. Then I have an exciter, which is actually only working on the top, driving a little bit. So if we just for experiment's sake, if we take both of these off, it gets a little bit darker, not as much high end, and I just wanted to add a little bit more up there. We have the imager, which just makes the low end 100% mono for sure. Then we have a little bit of stereo spread up in the upper ones, just a little bit though, to give it some space. Then a maximizer to bring it all to volume. And I guess it could go louder, something closer to that, but I like working kind of quietly, so I'm not going to do that right now. That'll be the last thing I do, is bring it all up to 100% volume. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's the track. It was actually, when you listen to Crywolf, it sounds incredibly intimidating. Or artists like him. I'm not even going to pretend like I even came close to, doing what Justin Crywolf does. But this sort of style, it sounds like there's a million things going on, but it's actually 90% percussion. And like I literally just found some loops and had them go the entire time. So you just got to build it piece by piece, and it's pretty, it builds itself, rather. Let me put it that way. But, or at least it did for me. Here I am talking like I know anything. So, anyways, if I was babbling on for way too long, I apologize. If you understood nothing I was saying, definitely tell me. And if enough people tell me, I'll just redo this while I'm like more aware of my babbling. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Like, comment, subscribe. This song will probably be coming out eventually because I actually really enjoy it. This is one of the first songs I've written in a while where I actually enjoy it. So hope you do too. If you have any questions, like I said, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.